Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. My name is Rachel Picard, and today we're going to be interviewing one of my favorite humans on the planet, Mr. Rob Sperry. He's going to join us here in just a second, and we're going to be talking everything about leadership, team building, taprooting, identifying leaders or potentials in depth inside of your organization. You're going to want to grab a pen, a piece of paper. This is definitely noteworthy for sure. If you're brand new to the podcast, smash that subscribe button, leave a 5-star rating and a written review. I know you don't have to, but man, it really means a lot to me. Those reviews give me life. And so I am really pumped. I know we have Rob for just a couple of minutes, but the nuggets are real. I've been working now with Rob pretty closely for a couple of years. He coaches not only my entire organization, but also occasionally my top level leaders, helping them become a legend inside of this industry. Rob hails from Utah. He's a family man. Probably one of the things that I respect most out of him is he has his priorities straight. And before becoming one of the premier network marketing coaches inside of the direct sale industry, he was in the field building as a multi-7-figure earner for nearly 9 years. He's also consulted, and now he takes leaders like all of us, all of our soul CEOs, and he makes us better. He makes us brighter, and he makes us more effective. So Rob, thanks so much for accepting this invite. This is part 1 of 2. So part 2 of this conversation, we're going to go over to Rob's podcast, and I cannot, you guys got to subscribe. It is absolutely incredible. And Rob, the name of your podcast so everyone can find it easily?
Network Marketing Breakthroughs with Rob Sperry. And what I would ask as well is if you guys use stories at all, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, come find us. I'm at the game of networking and you're at Soul CEO. Is that right?
I am at Soul CEO.
Tag us, whether it's on Insta, whether it's on Facebook, we'll make sure we add it. So now Rachel's got some accountability. We've got to make sure that we do that. But it's been so fun working with you. You're one of those incredible human beings that everybody loves being around. You are so insightful. You understand both the online world, you understand the network marketing world. You combine the two, which is always fun. You're always working on leveling up your game, skill systems. And we've been able to hang out everywhere. We hung out Vegas at events. We hung out in Maui, right, at masterminds, Sedona, Texas, right, all over the place.
Yeah, you can usually find me and Rob in the hallway. the real meeting of the minds in the hallways during the meetings and comparing good notes. But you know, Rob, you can share a little bit about your story. You have built up teams of hundreds of thousands of people inside of your career in network marketing, which gives you tremendous clout and moral authority to teach as a trainer. But share a little bit about your journey before we dive into, so we get a little bit of background and history of your story.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start out with, prior to network marketing, I was a tennis guy. I played tennis. I taught tennis. Everything was tennis, ran a tennis club. And that's what I aspired to do because it was really the only thing I knew. It was very comfortable to be ambitious in a field that I understood. I got involved in the network marketing profession in 2008. Previous to that, I'd said no to 11 different companies. I felt like, you don't do any of those things. Of course I was approached by a bunch. I live in Utah. If you're not approached by 4 or 5 different companies, then that means you don't have friends because there's so many here. So I got involved, long story short. And as I got involved, of course, it was extremely scary, like it is for all of us, or at least most of us that are human. I was so scared of what people thought. I was scared of the fear of rejection. I wasn't scared. I didn't have the fear of success. It was a lot more of just the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment as I got going. Long story short, highlight version, I became the number 1 recruiter out of 1 million distributors. It was a multi-billion-dollar company.
Ooh.
Yes, inside of that, we don't have time to go through the sob story of my 5th month in the business. I worked 80 hours a week and I made less than $400 for the month. So just understand, when you hear the highlight reel, there were many more failures in between. As John Maxwell says, just fail forward. That's exactly what I did. And then I had an opportunity to work with a multi-billion-dollar company to create an entirely new brand. So I was the creator of that. It was called MYNT, Rest in Peace. Long story short, that actually was merged, and I was able to facilitate that merge. But I was able to consult, create, and then also lead the field on that. And that was an incredible experience. Once we merged, I built my business in 40 plus countries. It was all over the world, traveling, making it happen, because we were just transitioning into focusing more and more on social media. So it was kind of like that hybrid, but not fully transition enough to social media. And so it was great. It was an incredible experience. And from there, I did transition into coaching the last 4 years. I do a lot of consulting for companies. I do a lot of masterminds, but everything is just, it's just fun. As a coach, I will tell you this, Rachel, I say this, but I was really worried, not being in the trenches, that I was going to lose a lot of the insights and perspective. And the one thing I will tell you as a coach now, with top leaders like yourself, willing to be vulnerable and share the things you're struggling with, but also share all your secret sauce tips, which Rachel's got a ton. That's why you got to smash that subscribe button and don't miss any of her podcasts. She's one of the few people that I've had twice. I don't know. I think I've only had you and one other person to speak twice at my masterminds as a featured speaker, because she's that good. So I'm not just saying that because I'm on her podcast. She's one of two people out of 10 podcasts, or 10, masterminds that I've done that I've had speak multiple times. And so I feel like I'm learning more than I've ever learned before, which is just, I'm gathering insights from all these top leaders. And so it's just so fun to be able to break those down, simplify them, help out everybody in this wonderful profession of network marketing. So there is the highlight reel with millions and millions, maybe not that many, but thousands and thousands of failures in between.
And, when we're thinking about the topic of leadership and team building, the way that I look at network marketing, I love to dumb it down, break it down to the ridiculous. There's only 2 skills that you really need in network marketing. And I'm so grateful for that as a very simple human, as not so smart. I'm a college dropout. Is this isn't brain surgery. Think about all the different tactics and skill sets that they need, right, to do something very intricate to save somebody's life. We just need 2 things. And if you master one, you can get to 6 figures. If you master both, you can get to 7. The first skill is recruiting, right? Obviously, Rob is a master, so we might have to have him on another podcast, talk about that. The second is team building. It is building a team. And sometimes we use a term that's mostly found in this industry called taprooting. So talk to us a little bit about team building, your just generic philosophy. And because I know people listening, they might be a team of 1 right now, or a team of 10, or a team of 100, or a team of 100,000. We have top earners now messaging me saying I'm binging this right now, every single day on the treadmill. I'm super humbled and honored. And so whether you have a small team or a large team, at some point in your business, this will be applicable. So talk to us about your just general philosophy of team building, because you're great at recruiting, but how'd you build the team of hundreds of thousands?
Yeah. So when I first started, I focused all on sponsoring and recruiting because I didn't really know how to team build. And I think a lot of times it's where it starts for most people. Everyone has different skills, but I never recruited in a way that was just recruit in a sales way. There's a lot of people that just recruit people. They're in one door, out the other door. It was more of my lack of leadership, my lack of leverage of leadership, because sometimes you're still developing leadership. But the reason why you start out with recruiting, like Rachel said, is because if you don't recruit, you have nothing to duplicate. If you don't recruit, there's no team to team build with. So that's why it's the number one most important skill there is. There's nothing to work with if you don't sponsor, if you don't recruit. So I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. I was the hamster on that wheel. My first year, where I was sponsoring a ton and I was doing my best, and I felt like I was creating these different type of calls, right? Because there weren't Zooms back then. No one knew what Zoom was. And so it was all these different conference calls, the different conference lines that you're using.
Free conference call, hd.com, *6 to mute everybody, *5 to unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly, the drill. That's what it was. And so I'm I got these different pockets, and I got these team ones, and I got these little accountability ones, and I'm trying to develop all of this. And I was frustrated. It felt like I was taking water, which would be the recruits sponsoring, and I was filling it in a bucket, but the bucket had all these holes in it. So all I did is kept putting in more water, and then the water would come out, and put in more water. And I just kept getting frustrated. It wasn't for lack of effort. And I was coachable, and I was teachable, and everyone's like, you just got to do this and this and this. And I'm trying, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. It just isn't working. And what I learned is even the things that we hear, sometimes we have to experience. So when I was given perspective of businesses take 3 years to turn a profit, thinking how you have to have 12 plus years to become a doctor. For whatever reason, as I'm starting out in a year, I'm thinking that why is it not working for me right this second? And it took some time as I kept focusing and developing and having that patience. When I say patience, be careful. Because if you treat this like a marathon, you'll have no short-term urgency and you'll have no success. If you treat this like a sprint, you'll be burnt out and you'll quit soon. So it's a lot of short races. You got to have, sometimes you sprint, sometimes you walk, sometimes you jog as you go and you make this happen. So I started learning with team building is that distributors sponsor other distributors and customers. Leaders sponsor circles of influence. Now, some of you are like, well, what is this circle of influence? Circle of influence is all the people that you're connected with. So if I brought Rachel on my team, I wouldn't just be thinking about Rachel. The average person knows 2,000 people. So even if you think that the person you're sponsoring isn't that great, which first off, I'll tell you, some of the best people have been the people that people didn't consider great. And many times it's because they don't have an ego. So they're willing to learn. They're willing to go through the rejections and the fears. Whereas some of the people you perceive as being great, they have anything go wrong and their little egos can't handle it. Ego stands for edging God out. Ego stands for everyone's got one. Your ego ain't your amigo. We could probably go on and on and on with it. So that's something that I had to learn of the circle of influence is I want to get into their circle of influence of the people that they know because twofold. Number one, this is the best way for me to help them have some success, a taste of success, help them to make their money back, help give them confidence, give them oxygen. This is going to be a graphic analogy. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I don't think it's offensive, but you never know these days, right? Is when people start, they're on their deathbed. And what they are is they're on life support. And anything that goes wrong, they could be done. So if you can help them right away get into action, right away approach somebody with your simple system, not go watch the training for the training and the plan for the plan of the plan. That's like somebody, you're the pilot trying to fly an airplane and they're co-pilot and you're like, hey, I'm going to teach you how. That's the new network marketer, right? So I'm pilot, I'm the upline leader, I'm going to teach them. They get in, I'm like, hey, go watch these 12 YouTube videos. And here's this little training manual. And please just message me if you have any questions because I am the super supportive upline. Anything you need, I'm here for you. They're not flying that airplane. They're out. They're done. So with your simple system, you got to help them get into action right away. So they go to bed with dreams, not with nightmares. They're going to go to bed. Oh my goodness. If Sally does this, she just can't keep her mouth shut. She talks to everybody. She's awesome. And so now they're going to bed with dreams. Whereas if you make the plan for the plan of the plan, watch this training for the training of the training of the training, right? Now they go to bed, oh, like, I don't have time. It's not my personality. It's not my style. Like, what did I get myself into? And so now all of a sudden they have less success as they go. And right, as I said, they're on life support. Anything that goes wrong, they're done. I'm giving them more oxygen, which buys more time for me to help them to have more confidence. And don't get overwhelmed when I say help, because I know some of you are like, I'm not worthy, I'm brand new. Look, stop making yourself the issue. The simple systems are the ones that work the best. You probably have incredible tools in your company. You're plugging them in, you're utilizing that. So stop making yourself the issue. Can't someone be better than you? Can't you help them, right, as you go? And then the second thing is you're creating your insurance policy. I can't control what other people do. I love them. I'm going to help them. I'm going to do whatever I can. But in the event that they're done for whatever reason, bless and release, I'm not going to begrudge them. I'm not going to belittle them. But as I'm building my empire, as I'm building my legacy, whatever that is to you, whether it's $200 a month or $200,000 a month, whatever it is to you, to each their own, I'm also building that insurance policy as I go. And so these are some critical things to understand. And that's why I went from a little more in depth to also trying to explain that the goal is to get them into action and make it so simple. Because as you know, Rachel, what works is what duplicates. And as Leonardo da Vinci says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That was actually a quote that Steve Jobs had in his office for most of his working life at Apple because he understood the power of it. So that's a mouthful.
No, I think that's so good that so many, I see it often with salespeople that come into network marketing is, they evaluate the comp plan and they see that on the front end that their biggest income is in recruiting or selling or product acquisition. So they're go out there trying to build up their weekly commissions. And they don't understand that the true power is also balancing going down in depth and creating leverage. And there are times where I've shared on on podcasts before that I've gone through really severely challenging times. I mean, now 14 years in this industry that I was not in like phase one production mode. I wasn't like intensely recruiting like I am today. You just go through those seasons of life. But it was because I had built levels and levels of leadership that my business still grew or maintained, and my checked in waiver during those times. And so it's like seeing the long-term vision of that. What do you think stops people from going down and working in depth? I see this a lot in network marketers, especially new leaders. They'll work with their personally enrolled and then it stops. It like stops at level one, maybe level two, but then they stop there. Like, what are some of the challenges with now working in depth? What do you see is like some of the Achilles heels in that? We call it taprooting, kind of driving down and meeting people in the team. Why don't more leaders do that? Do they not understand? Is there difficulty there?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but certain people they feel uncomfortable. I mean, it's when you start working with someone that you feel comfortable with, it's a lot easier when someone asks you who you're working with 6 months later. Oh, I'm working with Sally still. And 6 months after that, I'm still working with Sally. And so people like to get stuck in where they're comfortable. And then what they want to do is they want to teach everybody else to do what they once did, not what they're currently doing. And that's where it comes in. The cliche quote in network marketing is speed of the leader, speed of the pack. And they wonder why they're not having that success. I think the second thing is sometimes they're just unsure how to do it and they feel like they make it too complicated and they feel like they're overstepping their bounds where it's like, oh, I'm overreaching now and I just don't want to be overbearing or pushy. Look, when you do things the right way, and you believe in something, it's just all on how you convey and communicate it. It's not like you're being that forceful leader that's making the person underneath like, you've got to do this and this and this. Questions are the answers. So if Rachel is getting going right now and she's starting and I've got a little more experience and I want to taproot and I want to get in her circle of influence and she introduces me to Julie and I start talking with Julie, I'll let Julie know, hey, I'm here to help you as well. I'll ask her some of her goals and what she wants. And then of course I'm going to say, hey, our first goal is I want to help you to make your money back. In order to do that, here's some of the simple things we're going to do. And so I'm going to start utilizing leverage because I want Rachel to continue to talk to new people. I don't want her managing, right, these new people that are coming on. And so I'm going to do the same thing with Julie. And Julie introduces me to someone. And so it's not a complex thing, but we get in our own way and we start thinking of all the reasons why, oh, I'm overstepping bounds. We just talked about that. It's just effective communication. You're not going to bombard them. You're not going to hard close them. You're not going to hard sell them, right? You're going to have conversations with them. You're going to ask the right questions to get the right answers as you go. And don't get too comfortable because in the end, you won't create that legacy type income. Again, like I said earlier, whatever that is, because you're just going to get stuck. You're really, if you think about it, you're treating this like net lottery ticket marketing, not network marketing, because now you're just relying on this one person that you continually just manage and work with. And it's just not how this goes. If everyone could just get two people and they manage those two and it took off, like that's what people make fun of in network marketing, because a lot of people convey that, oh, we just get two, or we just get three, we get three. Yeah, it's fine to teach that as we start to keep it simple. But in the end, you have to consistently look for those right people.
I see this a lot with achievers that there is a teeter totter of confidence, meaning that they're overconfident and they put too much assumption in their downline's ability to train them, their downline's ability to equip them. They're like, well, I helped Sally get to rank 3. She should be able to help Bob get started. And Sally's like, what's the name of the company again? I'm not even sure what I joined. Like she's still figuring out her back office. She's like, I'm rank 3. They sent me a pin. I had no idea. Right. So they're overconfident. They figure, well, I told Sally once, so she's got it. Right. Well, Sally gets on the calls, so she figured it out. Right. So Bob's going to be fine. And Bob and Tim and Alyssa and Karen and all these people that just joined, they're all going to be great. They're going to be great. And so it's like this overconfidence and assumption that training is happening, that mentoring is happening, that equipping is happening. And then there's underconfidence, like the teeter-totter, right? The seesaw. Then they undervalue their own skill or what they have already done. Or they're like, again, that insecurity, I don't want to overstep bounds. Let's say I had this come up in a leader call. 6-figure leader. They have a mid-level leader. And these mid-level leaders are they make good money, a couple $1,000s a month, right?
Mhm.
Maybe $5,000 a month. And the 6-figure earner is seeing no duplication down under these mid-level leaders. And so she's like, after watching this for almost a year, she didn't want to offend those mid-level leaders by like dialing down and introducing herself. And I was like, honey, that's your team too.
Yep.
And so she ended up texting all those new people that were coming in, realizing they had no idea what the launch guide was. They had no idea what the system was. They hadn't added themselves to the Facebook group. They didn't know what the Monday night calls. They literally were spaghetti thrown up against the wall. And so she found, just because of an act of bravery and courage to be like, I'm just going to go reach down, that there was. So she got visualness that her mid-level leaders, although phenomenal people, that he may be a wonderful recruiter, but he may not be actually implementing the play, right? He may not actually be duplicating the system or equipping the new person. What happens in an instance if you're a leader and your downline doesn't want you to work with their team? But let's say that team isn't having success. There's people coming in, but nobody's duplicating. They're not on subscription. They're not showing up on the calls, right? They're like, you can see a clear path of failure right in front of them, but that mid-level leader is on an ego trip, and they're like, no, my team, don't talk to my team. They want to wrap their arms around it. What do you do in that situation?
I look at it as first off, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I look at it and I say, you know what? Leaders just make the right decision regardless. And the right decision is rather than people pleasing one leader with a huge ego, is you could impact 5, 10, 100, thousands of people based off of helping just a couple of people. So not only is it something you should do, I believe it's your responsibility as a leader. Now, if I'm working with a leader with an ego, of course, my goal is not to fight. I'm going to say, look, I understand where you're coming from, but also this is our business. This is my business. Each person can make their own decision. I'll always edify you. My goal is just to be there as well to help. And sometimes no matter what you say, that person just doesn't care. Well, if that person has that big of an ego, the chances are they're not going to be in your business in 3 or 4 years from now. So on the flip side, the worst thing you can do is just not develop and cultivate those relationships as well, let alone the short term of not helping them. It also can have long-term ramifications. So if I've effectively communicated and they still feel that way, again, it's the right decision. So I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm just going to do it in a way that I'm not going to de-edify the leader that they work with. I'm not going to say one thing negative at all. I'm going to say, I understand everybody's got different personalities they work with and struggle with. That's okay. We're all here to help each other out and, work with each other and make things happen. And yes, I will go beneath them and work with them as well to make things happen, which is, that's the only way. It's easier said than done. I get it. And it's a true test of leadership as you're going, but you got to do whatever is the right thing to do. And deep down, it's the right thing to do. You're just worried about dealing with the massive ego that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I try every approach. I try my best to help them see the vision. And because in my mind, man, If my upline were to call my team, I'm like, oh my God, it never happened a day in my life. I was so 14 years in. I've always been like the large leg, the flamingo leg, right? So I was like, nobody's ever worked inside my organization. I was like, if you could only understand the value of the leverage of having a support team that's giving a new personality, a new perspective, or even a stack, a bigger check, a bigger result that can speak to that person to move them, hey, I'll be on it. Now, kind of wrapping up this conversation, what would be your best advice for identifying, like, how do you know somebody has leadership potential? How do you know somebody has that you should pour time into them, like down into your organization, like what you should be looking on? I mean, ultimately, I think it starts with, you got to know the people, you got to meet the people, you got to see the
Yeah.
people. But what are you looking for, down in depth to say, you know what, I'm going to go on my 5th level, 10th level, whatever, in this, like, I'm looking for the next new rock star to go build with. What are you looking for?
Two things, effort and results. There's a lot of people that will talk a big game and then they do nothing. And there's other people you feel like are going to be great and they do big things as they go. So number one, I'm going to look at an effort, because the people that are tough, they're going to figure it out. It may take them a lot longer, and that's okay. They may be on the slower path, but for the most part, if someone's really truly in phase one and focused on phase one consistently, it's going to happen in my mind. It's only a question of when, not if, but when, not if, but when. So if someone's willing to do that, then yeah, I'm willing to work with them, because I do a whole training on there's needers, wanters, and there's deservers. And the needers need it, the wanters want it. It's not bad to need or want it, but you need to effectively spend more time with the deservers, the ones that are actually showing. So one way that you can do that is you can create little, I know Rachel's done that with her team. You can create little programs, little legacy type programs, little ninja type programs of qualifications that people need to meet. And a lot of those qualifications can be solely based on effort, and maybe some other minimum requirements, just depending on how big or small your team is, where you're at. But again, if you're not a leader yet, this still is important, because you have to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says. So I would do that, and I would really start to spend more time with your deservers, and I would create minimum basic requirements based on effort, so those people can sift themselves out, because everyone can say, I need this, I need this, I want this, I want this. Okay, well, great. Did you do X, Y, and Z? If you didn't do X, Y, and Z, then you're talking about how big it is, but your actions are telling me something completely different. It's like, wow, Ralph Waldo Emerson, he says, what you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. And so this is just a simple way to be able to sift out.
I love little assignments in network marketing. I follow the ACTS acronym: assignments, campaigns, tools, and systems. And assignments are huge. Like, if somebody is unwilling to download the Getting Started training or the launch guide and follow it and complete it, what can I do? If we have one little homework assignment, I got it from our buddy Fraser Brooks. So Fraser said, have your teamies introduce themselves into the Facebook group. And this is the first test of leadership potential. Are they coachable? Do they have effort, right? Are they willing to take one step in their business? Like, if you're coachable, you have effort, you're taking the effort, you're going to follow a simple instruction, which is you click this link, you click join, you grab your favorite selfie or family photo, you and your dog, whatever, and then you write a little paragraph about who you are and what your goals are. And to me, like, that's the first one. So you can give people assignments. If you have somebody that's putting in effort, or say that they want it, right? They all say that they want it. They're the wanters, but they're not showing up on a team call. They're not registered for virtual convention or coming to an event. They're not even on subscription. How much do they really want it, right? I have a girl that circles back to me regularly. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. And then I went recently, we were running a promo for Black Friday, and I was going through all of my people, and I realized that she had it ordered in at least 6 months. I think that's as far as like our data went back. And I'm like, you're not even on the products. Like, what can I even do with you? Like, you don't even have it. So guys, look for people that are showing up. Give tiny little assignments. Come on this call, then we'll talk. Watch this video, then we'll have a Zoom. Fill out this Getting Started training. Hey, write down your why on a piece of paper, send it to me. Hey, make a list of 10 names, then we'll do this. Put me in 2 3-way chats on Facebook, then we'll commence, right? And so give little assignments. I think that is really, really helpful. Rob, this has been super insightful, and we're going to continue this conversation. I think we should dive into social media a little bit. Since that's such a hot topic in 2021. If you guys are listening to this podcast right now, you're going to want to press that pause button. You want to go and search Network Marketing Breakthroughs with Rob Sperry. You want to subscribe to his podcast as well. He also interviews a ton of great people. It is a wonderful podcast. It's going to teach you how to crush it in your network marketing business, how to have more fun doing it. Very simple systems on, XYZ of what you need to do to make very predictable results and to serve more people and help more people in the process. Thank you so much, Rob, for being a guest. Will you come back again?
Of course, it's going to happen. Thanks for having me. I know we could speak for hours, so we'll just do this as a little teaser for our next one. And then maybe the next one will be a teaser for a couple more months later. We'll do another one. So thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Rob.